Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to yet another episode of Women, Words, and Wisdom. My name is Imani Mwaura, and I'm very delighted to be your host. First of all, thank you to everybody who has subscribed to this channel and really helped us in growing this community. We truly, truly appreciate you. And if you're there and you have not yet subscribed, this is the opportune time for you to hit that subscribe button and join this wonderful community. And while there, don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you can get first-hand information when we drop a new episode. Now, in today's episode is one that will stir your heart and soothe your soul. We dive deep into self-awareness, and today we are talking about you and your emotions. We live in a world where feelings are high, sadness, excitement, happiness. But what if I told you that your emotions are valid, but they're not your identity? Yes, I said that. And to help us break this down is an incredible woman, someone that I've known for a while, and I call her a friend. She's a wife, she is a mother, she is a sister, she is a friend, and she's a marriage and family therapist. I'm really excited to have you here, Wairimu. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Imani.
Yes.
I'm really glad to be here, and I'm even excited to be here to discuss about emotions.
So, Wairimu, to get us started, there's something that you've told me not once, not twice, that you are not your emotions. Break it down for us. Let's get to know, what do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is emotions are messages. They are messengers, not messages, but they are messengers. They come with a message. So you cannot be the message, but you are receiving a message. So when you feel a certain type of, when you have an emotion, anxiety or happiness or sadness, you're being informed of something, and you're also adapting to your environment, because emotions is how we adapt to our environment.
Yeah.
When you're at a funeral, I don't see you laughing. I see you crying. I see you processing sad emotions, or there's a level of sadness or even despair in such a place, because you're adapting to what is. So emotions are our inner state, and emotions are not just our inner state. They could also be expressing unmet needs. For example, a child who is crying insistently needs to be addressed. Maybe needs to be changed their diaper, needs to be probably fed or picked up and played with. So there's a need that they're expressing with their emotion. So emotions can also mean be a way of expressing unmet needs.
So emotions are messengers.
Yes.
And they help to express unmet needs. Very interesting. I once heard you say that there are primary emotions and secondary emotions. What's the difference?
Now, primary emotions are what I would call hardwired. They are universal. It doesn't matter whether you're from Timbuktu, whether you're from Masai Mara, wherever you are from, male or female. Primary emotions are hardwired. They are universal. They are usually, if I'm gonna name them, there are 6 of them. We have fear, we have anger, we have disgust, we have sadness and surprise, and we also have there's one more, but there are 6 of them. So these ones are how you react immediately something on the all defaults.
Yes.
You see a dog, fear.
That's me.
You know, or you see a crocodile and fear.
Yes.
Now, secondary emotions are how you process your default emotion.
Aha.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Should I give an example?
Yes. Yes.
So, for instance,
Yes.
and this is now something we learn over time. So, for example, you see a dog and you become fearful. Default, universal. I mean, the first expression is fear. But because you're an adult and you're told adults can manage everything,
Yeah.
you could start feeling a sense of shame. How can I be scared and I'm an adult? I should be more, maybe this could happen, probably maybe for men more.
Yes.
Like I'm a man, I should stand up the dog, you know?
Yeah.
And then you might feel a shame or a certain type of, this is not how to react.
Yes.
So that's a secondary emotion.
Aha.
It feeds off the primary emotion.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. And you're helping me even process my emotions. You know, when you use the example of a dog, that's really me. Yes, yes, that's me.
I triggered something.
Yeah, and now I understand why some of those things come after that. Like when you talk about the shame of everybody here looks like they love dogs, but me, I'm not. You know, so should I, stand up to that?
Yeah.
So are there triggers? Of course, the environment can probably trigger the kind of emotion that comes. But do we have emotional triggers, and how can we become self-aware of this?
So we have triggers. And triggers happen from past information.
Okay.
When something causes you to go back to a reference point. So for instance, I don't know where your fear of dogs came from. Maybe when you were a child, a small girl, small Imani, went to visit grandpa and the dog was let loose. And probably the fear started there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably. But because maybe that was not processed, or, oh, don't worry, dogs are good. Oh, this is Guka's dog or grandpa's dog.
Yeah.
And they didn't help you process your fear. It was probably minimized and you were told how safe the dog is. But in your mind, you had already formed a pattern of dogs equals fear. Run for life. So, Imani is an adult. So every time she sees a dog, memory, past, trigger, we go back to the past. Yes, so that's, so we do have triggers.
Yes.
I mean, if you break up with a Chinese boyfriend, every time you see a Chinese man, no relation, nothing, but you'll be triggered to remember a Chinese man who broke your heart.
Yeah.
So we do have triggers.
Yeah.
Now, why do we need to be self-aware of our own triggers? Because if the breakup was not a nice breakup, you're likely, if you're not self-aware and you're engaging with this Chinese man, you're likely to be aggressive to him unnecessarily. You're now behaving based on past experience, not the here and now, because you're not self-aware.
Yeah.
Why am I having a level of anger towards this Chinese man?
Yeah.
That's what self-awareness is about, where there are triggers.
Wow. I feel like I'm in therapy. Even as we talk about this and the importance of knowing the why. Actually, when we understand the why that triggers, I actually don't know where my fear of dogs came from, but there's just that thing that, like you said, it's a pattern. It doesn't matter whether they say this is the man's best friend or whatever. And so we find that that's life. We have those things that trigger us, and they can come from way back from our childhood. Really, it's from childhood. But I don't really recall the why, but I have seen the pattern in it. So tell me, are there practical tools, especially when you have a particular emotion that recurs? Anxiety, fear. Are there practical tools that we can use to deal with that, even as we become self-aware of this?
That's a very good question, Imani. Are there practical tools? Now, yes, there are. One of the things is that you need to name, for you to tame an emotion or process it, you need to first name it.
Name it. Okay.
So you name it.
That's a good one.
You can't just say, I'm feeling something.
Yeah.
There's a level of discomfort. What is that level of discomfort? Is it anxiety? Is it fear? Even excitement is not always comfortable.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's, so you need to name it so you can tame it. And once you have named it,
Yes.
we go to the next step.
Yeah.
The body and the mind are related. You don't process things just cognitively.
Yes.
No, even your body is part and parcel of the process.
Yeah.
So what happens? You need to also ask yourself, where am I feeling it? Like, I'll ask you here. When you feel the fear towards a dog, if you can go back a bit, where do you feel it in your body, for instance?
I think my heartbeat, I can tell that my heartbeat starts and my mind gets to that point of flight.
You want to run for life.
Yes.
See, your heart beats faster. You're not running, you're not on the treadmill.
Yeah.
But your heart is beating as fast probably as if you're on the treadmill.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. So first you've established that I have a fear for dogs. And then you process it further. I feel it in my heart, or I notice that my heart is beating faster than usual. For some who say that I have anxiety, they have a running stomach that comes from nowhere.
Yes.
Not from bad food,
but
you just want to visit the bathroom more often.
Yeah.
So how do we process? First, you name it, and then feel it in your body. Find out where is it appearing in your body.
Yeah.
And then, now, there are two things. We have been socialized or culturalized to judge emotion. For example, I don't think I don't know, but usually we have judged emotions to be good or bad.
Yes.
Essentially, they are just either pleasant or unpleasant emotions.
Oh, so not bad or good.
When you say bad girl, are you entirely a bad girl, Imani?
No, I'm not.
Exactly. But probably you do have a bit of bad things here and there, but they don't define you.
Yes.
So when you call an emotion bad, you've already judged it as entirely bad. But fear is actually just there to tell you there is some threat.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
It's a messenger. So establish, is it pleasant or unpleasant? And then we have to, it's something you learn, because sometimes it's not how we are socialized or culturalized.
Yeah.
We learn how to sit with it. So I'll give an example. When you have a guest, what do you do with the guest?
Welcome them, hospitality, serve them something, entertain them. Yeah.
And then?
Have a conversation. Yeah. And have a good time with them.
And then?
They'll finally leave.
Exactly, they finally leave. That's the point. Now, emotions who are messengers are just like guests. You don't tell every visitor to come to your house that now boarding and lodging is my house. No.
Yeah.
They come, bring their message, and they leave. So how do we process emotions? So we sit with them. What is the message? What is this anxiety telling me? What is this fear telling me? Am I under threat? Should I run? Yes. Now, sometimes a dog probably is more, but sometimes the fears are innate fears.
Yeah.
They are in our minds.
Yeah.
Just because you've seen your boss come with a red file, or the HR manager, and you start thinking the worst. I might be fired. I might be, they are downsizing. I'm one of them. And you start sweating. Now, that's a threat to you. There's anxiety. There's fear of losing a job. How do you process that? You learn how to, there's a word for it, but you learn how to question that thought. How true is it?
Yeah.
Is it true? And if it is true, how factual is it? Or what's my proof for it?
Yes.
The HR has not spoken to you. The red file, while the red file means that it has a list of people who are to go, there are possibilities out there.
Yes.
Let's face it.
Yes.
Okay? So then you don't have to go through that, So let me go back to where we judge emotions. So they are unpleasant and pleasant emotions.
Yeah.
And we've established that emotions are guests who come and they leave. They don't sit with you.
Yeah.
It's not a destination. You're not a destination for emotions.
Yeah.
And by the way, facts, emotions don't last more than 10 minutes.
Wow. Wait, you're not a destination for emotions. They are messengers. They come and leave. Wow, that's so profound. Tell me, even as we speak to women, so as an adult, I can understand this, but probably there's a woman out there who's a parent. How do we help children? You know, I mean, there are things that, again, could be triggers, and the child just begins to cry. They just start crying. How do we help children
Beautiful question.
deal with emotions?
Children, the first thing always, even for adults and children alike, validate the emotion. Because emotions, I could see a dog and I run to it, I'm happy. You see a dog and run. They are subjective.
Yes.
But I am valid in my happiness and you're valid in your fear. So always validate a child's emotion. If they come crying, don't start telling them, stop crying. Why are you always crying? Boys don't cry, you know. What are you teaching the boy to start suppressing emotion?
Yes.
You are helping them start beginning to have shame and guilt for expressing an emotion. So validate an emotion so that they start even self-respecting what they feel and honoring what they feel. Because when you teach them to, when you just, sometimes we don't realize, either we don't pay attention, so we neglect the child, or we quickly brush it off. It's just a dog, let's go. You're minimizing their experience.
Yes.
And what are you teaching them? My experience does not matter. I don't matter. And they carry it to their adulthood. And so when someone is in the office and the boss is giving them more than they did, but because we're taught to suppress, minimize, they do it in their adulthood.
Interesting.
What we learn in our formative years shows up in our adult life. And so we that's what I'm saying, we are culturalized, socialized, modeled for how to behave even with our own emotions.
Wow. So validate emotions. And not only for children, even adults. Even adults validate their emotions.
And maybe one more point on that, for the child, after validating the emotion, start teaching them the vocabulary. Because we said you can't tame it unless you name it. So teach them some more, because usually a child, how are you? What are you feeling? Sad. What are you feeling? I'm happy. They just oscillate between sad and happy. So you need to start teaching them words like, I'm a bit frustrated. The queue is so long and I want to be on the trampoline. So add vocabulary. So that, and when a child is cranky, are they cranky because they are hungry, tired, sleepy? It could be anything. So add their vocabulary so that they start learning early to name it so they can tame it and process it. And go a step further. Ask them, when you have time, it's not always, this is the ideal way. I do it sometimes with my children. Tell me where you're feeling it. And they're like telling, Mom, I don't feel it anywhere. But sometimes they listen and say, Mom, I think I feel it here.
Wow.
So that they start connecting that body and mind work together. And my feelings are not just cognitive, but they are also in the body.
Amazing. Now that you talked about the primary emotions and so pleasant and unpleasant, the vocabularies that we are learning today, and especially when it's unpleasant, women, it has been said we project to other people negatively and to our spouses, mostly to our children. We are the ones who throw that slipper to them or that mwiko and all that. So how do we get to manage our emotions?
I'll answer that in two ways. One, I want to say something, that if you react in a hysterical way, it's a historical situation. If it's hysterical, it's historical.
If it is hysterical, it is historical. My goodness, today we are getting quotes that need to trend. Huh?
Yes. If I step on you, Imani, and you go all over the place shouting and kicking me, and it's not just about me stepping on your toes. It is way beyond this experience.
It triggers something.
Yes, it has triggered something. Or layers of things or experiences, and that's why you've gone hysterical. It's historical. Now the second thing, sometimes women do that because I think culturally, what are the messages we send to women? A nice girl does this, a nice girl behaves like this, a nice girl blah blah. So this nice girl is never allowed to show anger. For instance, it's not a beautiful thing socially, culturally, to see an angry woman.
Yeah.
But it's culturally acceptable to see a smiling woman, seated calmly, gracious, and smiling. But this is a human being.
Yeah.
She has moments of frustration. She has moments of being tired.
Yeah.
And because of how she's been socialized,
Yes.
she learned how to suppress her emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But for how long? Ever tried to pump until the air cannot be held anymore in a balloon and it bursts?
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
When you suppress emotion, you increase your internal pressure until you can handle it no more.
Oh, okay.
That's when you find yourself throwing the phone to so and so.
Yes.
Throwing your shoe to so and so.
Yeah.
It's not that incident. It's all the suppressed emotions over such a long time.
Yeah.
And it's not just to women.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it there.
Wow, interesting. We told you today's episode will stir up your mind and stretch your thinking. And I'm just wondering, as Women, Words and Wisdom Global, it's our desire that we get to engage, equip, empower, and enrich your lives. I just want to take a pause and say, what are you learning about you and your emotions? Do you realize that your emotions are valid, but they're not necessarily your identity? Kindly go to the chat section. Let's get to hear from you. What is it that you're catching from this great conversation with the phenomenal Wairimu? Wairimu, even as we come close to the end, I'm sure this is a conversation we can have over and over and over again. Maybe there's that woman who's watching us and feels that all you have done is stepped on their toes. With everything you're saying, be it from a personal perspective, be it from the relationships around her, I'd like you to look at that camera and probably address that woman. And you can tell them, dear woman.
Dear woman. First, I want to say I have a lot to say, but sounds like she just wants one sentence from me.
No. Just say it.
I say it?
Yes.
Great. Validate your emotions. That's the first thing. Emotions are neither bad or good. They are either pleasant or unpleasant. And see them for what they are. You are not an emotion. So let's put it this way. You are the house and not the storm that is passing through it. Okay? So you are not anxiety. You are not the happiness or the anger, whatever it is. And one of the ways to start changing that is by addressing the emotion as it should be addressed. I am happy versus I feel happy. When you say I feel happy, there's a difference between self and the state. So I am angry versus I am feeling angry. When you say I am angry, you embody that emotion. That's not how you look at it.
Yeah.
The healthy way to look at it is by
I am feeling.
Calling it as is, separating the two, self and state. I am feeling this and that. Secondly, it's a process. And if you have over time, we have to change this, but if you've embodied an emotion and called yourself, I'm usually very angry, or I'm usually this, it's time to start changing that narrative about yourself.
Yeah.
And once you start changing that narrative, how you look at it, you're able to name it and tame it. And this process requires a lot of self-compassion. You're likely to keep faulting back because you formed a default emotional pattern, and likely that you keep going back to it. So you keep giving yourself a lot of compassion. I just wanted to say that research confirms that so many diseases, including cardiovascular diseases, gut problems, are related to unprocessed emotions. When you learn to suppress emotions or to ignore or to minimize, there's a direct correlation to chronic migraines, chronic pains, including stress and hypertension, based off unprocessed emotions. We also have, when you also teach yourself to suppress your emotion, that means you're not addressing it. It also means you are invalidating yourself. that is also related to issues like depression.
Yeah.
Because you've learned to ignore yourself over such a long time, then you slowly start getting psychosomatic diseases and even psychological disorders.
Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
so processing emotions is critical. It's not an option.
Wow, Wairimu, I mean, these are practical things that we can do. And just from your experience and expertise, how does childhood upbringing or community upbringing really affect our emotions? And do they really affect our emotions?
Actually, they do.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. What you don't repair, you will repeat.
Ish.
What
What
does
you
that mean?
don't repair. Let me catch that. What you don't repair, you will repeat.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, tell us.
What that means, what you grew up seeing, you're likely to repeat it.
Yes.
How you saw people behaving around their emotions is how you're likely to do life.
Oh.
When you don't take time
Yeah.
to pause and observe. Now, for instance, I think you've heard of families where the father would come home and the kids disappear. When you grow up, the man thinks that when they come home, everyone should disappear.
Yeah.
And when they don't, because it's a different setup,
Yeah.
the father might show angry, don't you respect me?
Yeah.
But he's playing an old tape. So what you don't repair, you will repeat. How you learn to deal with emotions. Like in funerals, most men are told, be strong for the family. What are you being strong for?
Yeah.
That is minimizing your emotion.
Yeah.
And so you're taught how to minimize, to suppress, then you repeat it. But because you can only minimize for so long, it gets out in anger outbursts,
Yeah.
in substance use, drinking. It also, your emotions can lead to behavioral issues.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you see someone drinking to the point of blacking out, it's not the alcohol they like. It's what it's doing for them. It's helping them shut down the emotions.
Yeah.
How did they learn that? I don't know if you've ever noticed in many Kenyan funerals, after the funeral, most of the men hit the pub. They couldn't cry. They couldn't express. It's been bottling.
Yeah.
It's unpleasant. It's been judged wrong. As a man, I don't cry. It's my mother's funeral, never mind. But I cannot cry in my mother's funeral. But I'm bursting out with sadness, with despair, with hopelessness.
Yeah.
So what do? I down it. Or I get several women.
Yeah, that's very important, and I think we will address men and that issue. I think in our next episode, that's what we need to do. Deal with men, and get to talk about that. But that's profound. I mean, because what is that? Repeat
what you don't repair,
repeat. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, thank you for that. And how can we have practices that help us in that, especially spiritual practices?
Now, there are many ways to practice. I usually say we were created with a self-contained stress response system.
Yes.
That's what I call it.
Yeah.
Because we are biopsychosocial, spiritual beings. We have the biology part. You feel your heart beating. That's biology. Psychosocial, psychology, you're feeling the fear.
Yeah.
You process it cognitively.
Yeah.
Socially, there's how you are taught how to deal with the fear. And then there's the spiritual part. And the spiritual part is so critical because it is where you, as a human, you accept your limitations by allowing a divine hand to intervene in the situation.
Yeah.
You're not giving up, but you're saying there's one bigger than me. And I think he can handle this. So that's where the spiritual part comes in. And spirituality can be praying, can be writing a prayer, can be reading your Bible. It depends on what you can do spiritually or where you are anchored spiritually to be able to seek for divine help. Because the truth is, as humans, we have limitations. Now, problem comes when you don't accept that you have limitations as a human being.
Yes.
And you're trying to solve everything.
Yeah.
It's not possible. Yes. So when you engage spiritually, you allow yourself to accept your limitations as a human.
Yeah.
And accepting that you can get help. And then the social part is also like where you talk to a friend. You tell Imani, I think I'm overwhelmed with my work at my workplace. And she's like, oh, she shares her own, and you realize, oh, it's a universal problem. So it reduces the pressure on you, because when you think that this thing is only happening to you, then the burden is heavy.
True.
But when you're able to, when you realize that it's a universal issue, then you realize it's a human thing. And of course, I always prescribe therapists. Why, when you see a therapist, they're able to piece pieces and help you see where this is coming from, where it will lead you, and what other journey can you take to process what you're processing. Because we are cultural beings. We don't exist out of culture. We exist in culture. However, I would like to say that culture is created by human beings. And we are those human beings. So when you realize there are some cultural practices that are not serving you, for instance, it's okay to cry, whether you're a man or a woman, because you're expressing an emotion. You're probably expressing an unmet need, or you're adapting to the current situation. It's good that, or rather, I usually say we need to start learning that we are part of culture, and we can inform some changes, because culture is also dynamic. It's not static. So can we start infusing in our young ones that if, for instance, most millennials used to be beaten and told, I should not see you cry. You break a glass, can't you be ashamed? Why should I have shame for breaking a glass? No, I should just feel a bit sad a glass has broken, but not shame, really. It's an accident. So can we normalize changing or working, taking ownership of culture and saying it's okay for a man to cry. It's not okay for mwanaume ni kujichocha. No, a man can cry, and a man can still lead, and a man can still be strong and cry.
Wow, you're preaching.
So we need to start learning. And a woman is not just made up of grace and smiles. They get frustrated and tired. And we need to normalize that, so that we stop judging emotions as either good or bad, but either unpleasant or pleasant, and just allowing them to be. Because it's a state. It's not the final, it does not define us the self. Yes.
Wow, self and state. I'm sure you're learning a lot, like I am today.
But as I leave the set, I just want to say you are the house and not the storm that is passing through it. So women, let's stop identifying with the state. There's a difference between the self and the state.
There you have it. There's a difference between self and state. You are not angry. You are feeling angry. Women, I really hope that you have, taken a lot of nuggets from this conversation today. Thank you so much, Wairimu, for just giving us, I feel like we've just touched the surface, but that surface is worth it. I'm living here knowing, yes, self, note to self, I am not angry. I am feeling angry. That emotions are visitors. They come and go. Don't make them have residence in your life. Wow, amazing. And there's probably someone watching us today and they're feeling drowned in their emotions. And as I mentioned, Wairimu is a practicing marriage and family therapist. And so you may want even to get a hold of her after this. So Wairimu, let me give you this opportunity. Tell us about where you're practicing and if anybody really needs that support. Maybe we've triggered some things today.
Yeah, it's likely to be a spot where either you're triggered or you think you want to be more empowered.
Yes.
My numbers are right here at the screen, and I run Lucent Wellness. And I generally, on the social media, I'm Wairimu Wahome.
Again, thank you very much for being with us here today. Thank you everyone for joining us. I really hope that this has been beneficial to you. If you like what you've had today, make sure you like and share it with another woman. Share it. Actually, this cuts across. It's just not for women, but I'm sure even men will find the nuggets here. So get to like it and share it. Until next time, we are so glad that you have joined us.